Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, and welcome back to Up to Max, our series of interview on CEO of marketing agencies. Today is my first, I hope is going to be not the only one, my first interview in English, and I will be having a huge guest. And, it's first time, because it's in English, but of course there's going to be more. And then the second one is because I have the first woman, on the series, and I'm very happy. It cannot be better than the person I'm going to present to you. So let's not delay more, and let me introduce you Maeva Cifuentes from flymarketing.com. Hi Maeva, how are you?
Hello, Max.
Hello.
I am so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, hi.
Amazing. How's it
You look
going?
great, by the way.
Thank you. So do you.
Oh, well, we're getting there. We're getting there. So, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm here. I turned on the air conditioning for the first time this year. It's getting hot. You're in the same place as I am, so you know that.
Yeah, both me and Maeva and I, we are of course in Barcelona, and a lovely city with a lot of sun today. My God, I had to put on conditioning last night.
Oh yeah. I just started putting it on, and it's getting really beautiful outside, and I can't wait to be able to spend a day on the beach.
I love your background. It looks
Thank you.
cozy.
It's my kitchen.
Oh, yeah, I know. It's cozy. I knew your kitchen from your parties or something you're doing. So, which is great. So, Maeva from California. My God. Well, Maeva from everywhere, basically. I mean, from California is the place where you're born, I suppose.
Yes, I was born and raised in Southern California. My mom is French, my dad is Colombian, multicultural household. So we were the first generation Americans. And then about 8 years ago, I came to live in Europe.
Wow. Why did you come here? What was the choice to become here?
I moved to Europe because, well, my mom is French, as I said, and so my grandma lived in Paris, and I moved to Paris initially to spend some time and get to know my grandmother. Then I went to study in London, and London is an awesome city, but I didn't like living there. And I was doing my master's, and at one point the tutor was like, well, to finish your dissertation, you don't have to stay here in London. You can actually do it via Skype, and you can go anywhere you want. I don't know, Barcelona, and I had been to Barcelona once, and I was like, ding, light bulb on my head. And within 2 weeks, I had moved already to Barcelona, and that was 6 years ago.
Can I guess why you probably don't like London? From South California, living in a rainy place, cold and rainy place.
Yeah,
doesn't sound like that, right?
It was when I went there. So I went there to do my master's, and in the orientation package, there was an umbrella, and that was the first umbrella I've ever owned in my life. And I was like, uh-oh, what are they saying? And it was so it was cold and rainy, and I paid for the education out of pocket, and I was just starting my business, and it was just very expensive to live there. I lived very far from the center, and it was just all around a rough experience. I love London now. Now that I am in a different situation, I would probably go live there again. I love the music scene, and it's a lot going on there. But at the time, it wasn't. I prefer Barcelona still.
Yeah, I mean, Barcelona probably is the summer way of London. It's like the sunny part of London, because London is a beautiful city. I mean, I lived in Cambridge for a while, and I used to go there quite often. And it's very cosmopolitan, a trendy city. It's great. I mean, London, it's a great city, but man, it's too cold.
It's cold, and it's too big. I like a small city.
Yeah, Barcelona is nice. You can go around and buy bikes and stuff.
Yeah, you can walk around everywhere, and I always see people that I know because everybody's going to the same place because it's just so central. So it's like a small city, very small city feel here. Even though people who grew up here wouldn't say the same, probably.
Well, now, I mean, if you come from California, from a bigger city,
Yeah.
that is, it's nice place. So, for people who are listening to us, any question you want to ask, please, feel free to ask your question. And as we are live on different socials, if you think that is interesting, that I'm sure it's going to be, and you will see, you can share it and invite people to listen to this great professional. So, Maeva, there's always something. One of my first questions is the same, because I always love names. When you name a company, it's like when you name a kid. Or anything, you really love it. So why Fly Cat Marketing? What is it?
It's a funny story. It's based on a true story. So I have a cat whose name is Buddy. He's a street cat that I meant to just foster 2 years ago. And I ended up keeping him. And at the end of 2018, I had gone home to LA for Christmas. And I came back home. I had somebody watching him. I came back home and I sat on my couch, or not yet. I saw him. I was like, and I used to let him go. So I have just right in front of me the window to my terrace. I live in an attico, and I used to just open the window and let him come in and out as he pleases. And so I opened the window and I said, "You probably haven't been outside all day." And I went to go sit on my sofa. And then about 20 minutes later, the door rang, and I have a little camera. I live here in Ravada. So I looked at the camera and I saw it was a police officer. Wow. And I was like, why is there a police officer at my door? I almost didn't answer. And then I did. And he was like, si tienes un gato blanco y negro, do you have a black and white cat? And I was like, yes. Why? I thought that the neighbor over here had called the police complaining about him or something. And he had jumped off my attico. He fell 7 stories, broke all of his bones. He's perfectly fine now. He's over there taking a nap. And that's where the name came from. So actually, when I took him to the vet, they told me that cats who jump out of the window have this syndrome, a mental disease called Síndrome de Gato Paracaidista, parachuting cat syndrome. And basically when they're really high up, they just want to jump. So I imagined him like with a parachute, like trying to fly, and really like his dream was to go fly like a pigeon. And he sees the pigeons, and I can just picture, I mean, of course he just wants to eat the pigeons, but in my head, I was imagining him like, one day I'm going to fly. And that's where the name came from.
It's funny story, nice story. I mean, I always love it because, there is always a story behind the name. And it's almost, the same. We call the Ada our solution because of Ada Lovelace, which is the first lady that created a program line. So again, thanks to women, we can do SaaS and we can do technology today. And also because it's a short name, Ada.
Yeah.
From Americans, they would call ADA, which is it's Ada. Because I had a kid, my little kid called Louise, because she's half French. So our lady managing was Luis is in Spain. It's like a guy. So, and I had this, I was yelling at myself, why did I put that name? Because people here called it Luisa, so it's even worse. It's not her name. So it's I'm very, very, very concerned about the name. So what does Flying Cat Marketing does generally?
Yeah, so Flying Cat Marketing is a content marketing agency, and we're primarily SEO driven. So what that means is, we create a strategy and we execute the strategy to help brands build trust and authority in their niche. And SEO for us is a distribution channel. So it's not only about being able to rank. Yes, that's one of the things, being able to rank on the first page of Google, but that we use Google as a channel for distribution. But the main focus for us is to make sure that we understand our clients' users and what kind of value we can deliver them. How can we help a brand become an educational resource for their users? So we work with B2B, and a lot of people today, they want to learn. So they're always on Google trying to answer questions, especially in the B2B space. So they're going on Google, they're trying to answer questions, and a lot of the time it's brands that help educate them. And the brands that provide them with the most value, with the kind of value that's helping them move the needle on their businesses, those are the brands that they begin to develop trust. Those are the brands that they want to get on their email list. Those are the brands that they say, okay, these guys know what they're talking about. So we act as the driver, as the we help facilitate this process to where these brands can become resources to help their users grow their businesses, and ultimately help the brands grow their own businesses through this content marketing and this credibility and authority and trust that they've built.
So if we want to resume the SEO, because for people probably are not, marketing oriented, the SEO can be like building a trust, for any company over there.
Yeah, so SEO, it's search engine optimization. So it's writing posts. There's a lot of different factors that are involved in SEO. It's very complex. There's off page, on page. There's technical SEO. So it's basically it's optimizing your content so that it can be found on Google. And in our case, specifically for these intent, we focus on the intent of the searcher so that we're actually answering these long tail keywords, these specific questions that people have that you are the expert in. And it's being able to answer those questions via Google or search engines in general, but we focus on Google.
SEO and content are two big stuff, in marketing. We can spend hours talking about those both things. And I remember once, because we do content too, and for me, content it's basic. It's like the basic stuff for any company. Create your own content. And I remember once, and I always put this example because to me it's so clear. When you put an example, people understand better. I had a friend of mine that he had the chance to be one of the 25 driver on Formula One. And I don't know if you know about Formula One, but people always talking about tires, the importance of the tires. I didn't win the race because of the tires. And I asked him, listen, how come, a car, is an engine. The power of the car is on the engine. And the driver, the pilot, makes the rest. Why the tire is so important? And he said to me very shortly, he said, listen, tires is what you kicks you on the ground. It doesn't matter how good is the car, how fast is the car, how good is the pilot. If the tires doesn't stick the car on the ground, you cannot use all that power. And to me, the content are like the tires in a car. Without the contents, your company doesn't stick on the marketing. Am I right? In your opinion?
That's a great analogy. I think that there are a lot of companies that do well with other marketing channels, and I think that content is very, very valuable in B2B because people want to grow their businesses. Where if you're talking about maybe some forms of e-commerce, they can do with well, they still need content, but it wouldn't be the same kind of content that we create. They still need their ads, they still need their photos, but maybe they don't need a blog post telling people how to dress. But this idea of content in these B2B brands, especially in the climate that we are today, you do need that to stand out because a lot of people are providing similar services or products, and a lot of the things are the same, and the value proposition that you're giving is your brand, and what makes you unique is your authority and who you are and how you communicate with people and building this trust. So in this case that we're talking about, B2B, maybe SaaS, it is very important to differentiate, and content it's like branding and storytelling, and then the content is the way that you deliver the story of your brand. Yes.
It's a common mistake that people, when they create a company, that they leave like the content, like the last thing. They think about the product, they think about basically the web page, but they don't care. They just want the web page, something on that people can look for. They can go there and find something. But I always say, what you write there is why, because people get you there, because they probably find you some interesting content on your web. Not only because the web is stick there, because you can stick a web or whatever you want that probably will never be visible.
Yeah, that's an issue. People create a website and then don't do they don't optimize it. They just stick it on there and they say, why isn't it creating any customers? But in terms of maybe startups, a lot of them focus on content a little bit later because they don't really have product market fit yet, so they don't even know what their product is. They're focusing all of their energy on creating their MVP or trying to get investment or getting prototypes and validating their ideas. So at that stage, it makes sense, I think, that they're not focusing on content yet. But I think that at the point, as soon as you do have that product market fit, as soon as you do know who your target audience is, how you can help them, and what makes your products unique, at that point, I think you should already be creating content in whatever format whatever format you need, whatever format the people are gonna find you through.
So what is because I'm a lover of the marketing. I define myself as romantic of the marketing. So what's the first thing you would do? What are the first things you do when you have to go and talking about content to, let's say, startup? Because the scenario today, there's a huge number of startups. Of course, this has been growing a lot thanks to the technology, the SaaS. What is the first thing you would do for a company? Let's start from a startup, okay? Even if you say they start late, they at the beginning they just wanted to put a product there, and so. What's the first thing as a flat cap marketing and Maeva Cifuentes you would do when you sit with the clients? Imagine that I'm your client now. What you will ask me? What should I be doing?
Okay. So you're a client that I've already qualified. You already have a product market fit, let's say. You already have a product that you believe in. So the first thing that I would do is try to understand who you are, what your values are, what your mission is, because that's very important to be able to connect with your user. You need to have clear values and a clear mission. So when we sort all that out, then I would need to find out about your users. So ideally, the best case scenario is that I can speak directly to them. If I can get on the phone with them, interview them, or send surveys to them. Ideally, I would talk to them on the phone, but not everybody has the time for that. So the next best thing is I'm going to survey them. And then it's also important for me, and I think it's really interesting to go through forums or some kind of platform where these target users converse with each other. And then you can search like keywords about your product. So for example, if you do sales automation, then you would go into some kind of, there are sales automation groups, I don't know, on Reddit, maybe there's indie hackers or whatever platform, on Facebook groups that these people are all together in a group and they're asking each other for advice. And you start to scrape that information and try to understand how these people are seeing this product. So sometimes you think, well, my product does this and it's for this. And then you look it up in these forums and people are like, well, I need this kind of tool. And then everybody's recommending your tool, but it's not what you thought it was. So you're like, okay, well, they're actually using it a little bit differently, or they're actually seeing it a little bit differently. And you have to kind of merge what you see your brand and how they see it. And then start to find out what questions people are asking about it. So it's this whole research process where I'm trying to understand who their users are exactly, what their frustrations are. So also they're at work. I wish I could do this, but I have this problem. This is so annoying. Every time this is happening on my computer, I'm like, oh, I wish I didn't have to put everything on Google spreadsheets, or I wish that there was a way to automate this. And you have to find out what their kind of day-to-day is and at what point they're going, I need a solution. And so this is where you start to understand, where do they need help? How can I create topics to guide them from starting to get really frustrated and to ultimately buying my product or my client's product in this case. So it's kind of painting this whole persona based on what are their goals, who they answer to, what are their day-to-day frustrations, what are their major pain points, and what do they wish they would be doing instead of having to deal with this. And so you're kind of painting this whole image, and that would be the next step. And then the step after that is keyword research.
Of course.
Yeah, which is very important. And we're looking for long tail keywords, and it all depends on what, excuse me, there's a fly. It all depends on what state the client's website is already. Is it a brand new website, or have you already had some kind of content, or there are already people linking to you? Some websites have no content, but they have a big referral program, or they've been doing a lot of talks at conferences, or it's already a brand that's known, but the majority of their leads are coming in from referrals, and they want to start getting some other kind of inbound leads. So in that case, maybe they already have a little bit of authority in their domain. So we kind of see where they're at now and where they would like to go. And then we base the strategy on that. And maybe how many links can we build? What do they already have a network that we can leverage to get them to start sharing this content? And you kind of have to get a whole picture of where their company's at and where they want to go, and then take it from there.
That's so interesting. I mean, if I don't look at you sometimes because I'm writing questions that beautiful. I mean, you're giving a lot of ideas. I knew this interview could last hours, but we only have one, and 25 minutes went through. Oh my God!
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, it's good. It's good. I mean, I'm writing and I'm doing the director of the stuff. So I'm looking at LinkedIn. By the way, there is a question already for you. That it was something I wanted to ask you. So thank you to Michael that's following us from LinkedIn, and he's asking, there is a difference between B2B and B2C content?
Well, that's a good question. So ultimately, this has kind of already been said a lot of times. It's all human to human, right? And it's all kind of merging to be in the same. But I mean, there is a difference, because the goals of the ultimate consumer, the goals of the ultimate human is different. So in B2B, all of the content is about helping them with their business.
To find a business, of course, on Google.
Yeah, you're B2B, so whatever you're selling is helping that person grow their business. Whereas B2C, you're helping them with something else. So maybe you're helping them with their health or their relationships. Well, I think it depends on your skills set and what it is. For me, I prefer B2B. Okay. I don't know if it's easier. It's the easiest is as long as you understand your user and what they want the most.
This is the eternal questions. B2B, B2C. Yeah. I've been listening to these questions so many times. I think with the social and the fact that we all are on a mobile, this difference B2B or B2C is getting smaller. It's getting
smaller. Yeah, it's getting smaller, and yeah. I mean, it's like a lot of B2B companies now are modeling off of a B2C approach. They're trying to copy it sort of, but targeting different people. And I think that that's a good move. I think that there's a lot of B2B stuff, companies that maybe are a little bit stuck in the past. They've been around for too long, and they're having trouble kind of shifting to this. Okay, we're all humans. People don't want to deal with a corporation without a face. They don't know who, they don't want to deal with that. So it's kind of this shift towards A, making your brand sound more human, and B, also building your personal brand as the head of a company and connecting with people that way. So I think that that's an interesting shift.
It's so, because to me, I mean, this is a question I have too, because for example, I'm a consumer, of course, and today most of the company are getting me on my personal sphere, my social, basically a lot. I mean, it depends on the company, of course, basically a lot on the social media. When I'm, for example, Instagram, Facebook, you name it, right? I get things that, I need from my company. So either I do a screenshot and I send to marketing manager and I say, let me know do an analysis on this. So in that case, what they're doing, they're just targeting B2B or B2C. How the hell know that I've got a company? I mean, I think there are going to be millions of algorithms for them to understand that, I run a company or whatever. So that is very important.
Yeah, that's another point. I was just taking a note, is that in B2B, there are more people involved in the buying decision.
Yes.
So it's not always just, where in B2C, it's just a person. It's one consumer. And then in B2B, there's often several people who are involved in the decision-making process. And a lot of times it's also somebody who is pretty high level, so who already has a lot of knowledge about a topic. They want more data. They want more information from their peers and experience. And you have to take this approach, understanding that these people have no time. They maybe already have other partners, other tools that they're already using. They want to see ROI. And there are several people that maybe they have to get approval from before making this decision. So that's something that you need to have in mind when you're creating B2B content.
Are there any special technique you're using or tools to do like a SEO content driven strategy? How organize yourself? Because to me, it sounds so complicated. I mean, I'm not able to write even in my own language. I hate writing. That's a big mistake. But I hate writing. I'm not able to write. I get, writing is an art. You really need to sit that down and do it. So how is organized? There are techniques, there are tools. I believe you're going to use tools.
Yes, of course there are tools. Are you asking, because there are a lot of different tools that I use, but if it comes for just the content creation, well, as a part of the strategy, I use, for example, Ahrefs. So to do keyword research, and that's to find out, okay, so if I want to target this keyword, who else is targeting it? And there I can go find not only I can also find that on Google, but from Ahrefs, I can find out who's linking to this content. And you can start to understand what is it about this kind of post that is attractive to these people that are linking to it, or what makes this post valuable. So a lot of the work that we do before writing anything is also looking at all the other posts that are ranking for this particular keyword, and finding out what it is what arguments are they presenting, what format is this in. So if all of the top 10 top 10 results on the search engine results page are listicles, then maybe you should be doing a listicle as well. Listicle is like, the top 10 best tools for I don't know what. So you don't need to you shouldn't copy exactly what it is. You should have your own unique perspective and make it better, but you don't need to reinvent the wheel. You also have to understand, like, looking at these top 10 results, you can say, okay, well, I can take this format and then create my own version of it with a more unique perspective. So you don't have to completely start from scratch, but yeah, there's several tools. So also for writing, I use the Hemingway editor, and I have my writers use the Hemingway editor, which is a really great tool for writing because, Ernest Hemingway was very famous for his very simple and unadorned writing style. So it grades your writing based on how easy it is to read. So if you have like really long sentences, it's highlighted in red, and you have to cut it down until there's no highlight. And then sort of a lot hard to read sentences are in yellow. And so that's a really, really great tool for making sure that your content is easy to consume, and it's not, some people, you have all these run-on sentences or really complicated things, and it helps you simplify your ideas. And there's no tool that can make you a good writer. But no. So I have to, that's hard. That's a skill that you have to build.
But there is a tool to choose keywords. How do you choose the keywords?
Well, the choosing a keyword is a whole research process. It's based on how many people are linking to that keyword. What is my domain authority already? How relevant is this keyword to my product? Is the person who's searching for this keyword going to be somebody who is ultimately going to buy my product? So that's something you have to have in mind. For example, if you are a Google data coach and you want to rank for Google Analytics, well, if you Google Analytics right now, the first thing that's going to pop up is just Google Analytics, because people only search for Google Analytics because they don't remember the URL and they haven't bookmarked it. and they're too lazy to type in Google.analytics or whatever it is. They just Google Analytics. So that's not a good keyword to try to rank for. You'd have to find a different one for people who are looking for this kind of help in data analytics. So it's this whole process of being able to understand what is the intent of the searcher, and ultimately the search intent is more important than the keyword volume. So even if you have a keyword that there's 100,000 people a month who are searching for it, that you're probably not going to rank for it, and B, even if you do, and even if people are clicking on your link, that doesn't mean that they were searching for what it is that you want them to be, for what it is that's going to make them convert ultimately either onto your email list or as clients. So the keyword research is a complicated process that is, I think, always should come after the topic research, after the persona development, after understanding what questions these people have, and then you find the keywords that match with those topics.
So if you want, let me just say this, and if you want a professional, you should definitely contact Maeva Cifuentes at flycatmarketing.com, because Maeva and I, we have many things in common, basically. And one I've discovered is that we both speak about 3 or 4 languages. So, and Maeva is native in 3 of them. So, how much do you think that you are native on those 3 languages, which is Spanish, of course, English and French, helped you choose this direction of being specialized on SEO-driven content?
That's a good question. So
I know, thank you.
It's helped me a lot because I actually started this all in translation. Both of my parents are translators.
Oh, good.
French, Spanish, and English. And like 11 years ago, I was like, I kind of want to do something freelance too. I was working at a restaurant and I was like, this doesn't seem like what I want to continue doing. So I got into translation, and I've been in translation for a long time. And I started translating marketing material. And so that naturally led to copywriting, because I was translating marketing material, transcreation, which is a bit of a step more than translation, because you really just change the words. You just try to go for the same message. And at one point they were like, well, why don't you just copyright? So I got into copywriting. That led me to get into blog writing. And then at one point I was writing these monthly blogs for a client who they were giving me the topics that they thought was interesting for their users, but they didn't really know that much about SEO. They weren't doing the keyword research. They weren't interviewing their users. They were just like, well, this is sort of relevant. And I was writing these monthly blog posts, weekly blog posts, and I was like, well, is this actually helping your business, or is this helping your users, or what is the point of this? I don't really understand. And they're like, well, you're supposed to write content. That's the point of it. So you're supposed to have monthly content. And I was like, well, does anybody know why? I was like, there's not a strategy behind this. And so I started getting really interested in strategy, saying like, okay, well, I'm sure that there is something that we can do before we create this content to understand how this is actually going to drive business objectives, how this is going to help people and help your brand. So I started getting really into strategy and experimenting on my blog. I started my own blog to try to experiment with these marketing strategies. And I realized that there was, yes, indeed, a direct correlation between having a strategy behind it in terms of keyword, user intent, search intent, all of those things. And there was a direct correlation between the content that you're producing and having the strategy behind it and actually getting some metrics that you're looking for, some actually achieving some KPIs. So that's how this background brought me into SEO content marketing.
I was pretty sure this interview is going to be interested. We have a question that I'm going to show you. So it's a long one. Basically, it says this: I love the way you guys elaborating the marketing and make it much simpler to research. Well, my question is for Maeva. When you prefer quality marketing or quantity marketing, and why it's so important, can you pivot to your cat context? Thank you, much appreciated. Wow.
So if I understand correctly, the question is, when should a brand choose quality over quantity?
Yes, that seems so. When you prefer quantity marketing or quantity marketing, and why it's important? Can you pivot to your fat guy content? Probably
So,
what you prefer. I mean, if it's quantity
quality.
marketing or quality.
Quality.
Yeah.
I mean, quantity doesn't matter if your quality isn't good.
Okay. I like that.
Always quality.
I'm gonna use this once. I will do a photo. I do on my social. I will write this, and I will put it.
I mean, you should never.
Well, the quality.
What's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, you should never drop the quality in order to have more quantity. Never. Always choose quality. That's my answer. And in every single context, that's my answer.
Okay, perfect.
But I mean, you shouldn't stop you. Like, don't get analysis paralysis. You don't have to be, nothing has to be perfect before you hit publish, but you shouldn't be like, oh, I'm just going to get cheap writers and try to write a bunch of things really fast, or Google Translate this, or get a bunch of things out there. I mean, that hurts your brand more than it helps it. But if you can spend some time and do your best and always have the user in mind and say, how am I helping people with this content? Then that's much better than just trying to get a bunch of crappy stuff out there as fast as possible.
Okay, I mean, I was pretty sure that the answer has to be that. I mean, you really need to have a quantity, but the question was very interesting, and it's thanks to this. I don't know who the user is because I can't see his name, but if that was the answer, fantastic. If you want it, get it. I
hope that answered the question. If it didn't, then ask again. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure that if it happens, it will ask again. So no problem about that. So Maeva, that's great. So as your clients, where your clients are they more? Are you? I mean, today for the kind of job we do, I mean, me and you, we are on the digital. We can be everywhere basically.
Yeah.
We both know we are in Barcelona, but the clients, we can run clients from everywhere. Where are mostly your clients are based?
My clients are spread in Europe. I have Barcelona, Belgium, Germany, and I have a client in the US.
And they are more like, what size of clients you have?
They're small. So they're startups, like a little bit. So they already have some venture backed, or they have already a clear idea of what their product is. They have a small team, most of them under 10 people. But they're small businesses, yeah.
I mean, we have to be careful when an American says about a small team, because in America...
they're like, just only 500 people. That's true. I mean, that's how you can define... No, but they're very small, but they're past the very early startup stages. They already have a very clear idea of what their product is. They already have a user base, but they're relatively small companies. Yeah.
Okay, great. So it's easier for you when they are a small company, because probably the management you have to talk to, it's very accessible, right? And you don't probably. I mean, you touch to the heart of the company, because sometimes in the big companies that happens to us too. When you're dealing with big companies, you're dealing with the people, you're dealing with the managers, and usually managers, don't really know as that company is being created. They don't have the soul of the company.
Yeah.
And that in content, to me, it's so important.
It's very important. That's also, there's a little bit too much hierarchy in larger companies. For me, I like to deal directly with the visionary, with the CEO, who's very passionate and who's going to be dealing with me directly, telling me their vision, their values, and they're usually just so excited about their product. And then sometimes I start talking to other people in their company, like the head of sales. I'll interview them because they have a lot of direct contact with the customers, and maybe they have a little bit different perspective. But here's Buddy to join us.
He's the one, we were waiting for him.
Yeah,
So
he's like, hello, I'm the star of the show.
he's the reason why your company is called Fight Camp Marketing. I will
Yeah.
remember forever. He's,
Um, yeah. Now he's looking out the window. Anyway, enough about my cat.
it's a nice company. It's a nice company to have it with, the cat.
Yeah. So I do like to deal with a team that's small, that doesn't that they're accessible, and that we can build something together as partners, and that also maybe don't have too many hierarchies and procedures and crazy things in place that's going to slow down the process.
Yeah, that's happened to you. For example, this happened to me a lot. When you go to big companies, you mainly talk to marketing manager, or you mainly talk to salespeople or project managers. I mean, most of those people. Anytime did you find some barrier? Because sometimes people gets jealous or gets like, oh my God, you're coming from outside to tell me what my job is. Did it ever happen to you?
Um,
Or it's
Not
just
that much. Maybe on some level where because I like to design the whole strategy. Oh, hello. Somebody says hi.
hi,
Sweet.
hi,
Yeah.
sir.
Hi.
Hi,
um,
Tom. Hi, how
I
you
like
doing? Let's say
I
hi
like
to him.
to design the strategy based on the SEO and everything. And when there's oh, excuse me, I'm in an interview.
He doesn't know. He doesn't know. He
um,
doesn't care,
he doesn't
which is
care.
good.
He's like, I should be in the interview. Um,
That's great.
I don't know if it was for that reason, but I have had maybe some pushback on from a marketing manager who wants to do things, who basically wants me to have a different role than what I have been put on the team for, or what I've talked about it as the CEO. And there's maybe a little bit of pushback, but I haven't had that experience too much
Okay.
because I like to qualify.
Your clients.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we all are in the post-lockdown. Can we call it that? Let's name it post-lockdown.
Not everywhere. Well,
Are you
maybe
sure?
I would say it's starting. Yeah, post lockdown is starting. Yeah, we can say
Well,
that.
we are sort of January. So for the company now, I mean, what we realized, especially us in our company, that a lot of people are getting now, a lot of company, a lot of sector that before were not even thinking about digital, are they coming to digital? But
Yeah.
going digital, or the digital transformation, as they call it, it's not like let's do it.
No.
How would help now the SEO content for those companies? I mean, what a company that needs now to get into the digital doing with the content, because one of the first step on the digital transformation, well, the main step should be, hey, write the content, start writing content, understand what your audience is, and try to do the work that is if I'm not wrong, is a long term.
Yeah.
You don't write something and tomorrow you got leads, basically. It's a long term. So what a company should be doing?
Well, they should understand that it's a long-term investment. Creating content is an investment like branding, and branding it's not just I'm going to create a logo and now everybody knows and trusts my brand. It's going out there and building trust and managing your reputation. And that's kind of what this investment in content is. It's understanding that, well, right now is a great time to start getting into content. Actually, it should have started at the beginning of the crisis, because now it would start getting some real results. And everybody was online this whole time, but still now is a great time because still everybody's online. They're trying to find digital solutions. And so what they should do is just that. I mean, what we talked about, starting to understand their users, starting to see how can we serve our users with free content, things that are going to help their businesses. And this is going to help build trust and ultimately build their brand. So branding is a lot more than just content and this whole storytelling and everything. But content is a big part of the brand and branding, and this is how you're actually connecting with people digitally and starting to build this trust and showing that you see your users as more than just dollar signs, but that you actually care about what you can do for them and you actually want to help them, and putting this out there and kind of building media. I mean, I feel like media is going to be the new thing where you're just, people are looking for information, they're hungry for information, and if you can provide that to them, then that's putting you in a better position than if you're just relying only on word of mouth and cold calls and outbound. It's building a machine that's gonna be helping you in the background, that's gonna be building. It's not only gonna generate leads and help the bottom line and the revenue, but it's building your brand, and it's getting your name out there and building that trust that people are looking for. Trust is the greatest asset now. People are so unsure of brands. I suddenly can't hear you very well. I don't know if it's my end. Oh,
there we go. I'm back.
There you go. Yeah.
I don't know, for some reason we got disappeared. But anyway, we're back again, so sorry. Some of our internet make like a funny thing. Listen, if a lesson can be learned from this period, or one of the many lessons can be learned, is the fact is, don't wait for something, like this happening. Because I'm totally agree with you. People that now would start something is too late, because it's a long-term investment, medium to long-term investment. So if really a lesson can be taken from this, it's, never underestimate nothing in marketing in your company, because you never know what can happen, and this COVID has been a great lesson under many aspects, personal, professional, and company were close to the public, or were close to the community, and invested in in content and marketing, in all what the marketing 360 degrees. They did really find. I mean, they had some loss, or budget went down, of course, but they didn't lost contact with their community. So this is one of the lessons should be learned. I don't know if you agree with this.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I read somewhere on LinkedIn, I think it was today, that I don't have the sources to cite it to you, so I don't know. But anyway, I'll tell you what I read. But it's, that open rates have gone up, click-through rates have gone up. So people are wanting to engage more with brands. I don't know if sales have gone up, maybe for some industries, but I think that right now is just a great time to communicate with your people, with your audience, and build them. And unfortunately, there was a lot of brands that didn't find that empathy during this time, and they were a little bit tone deaf. And I think that really hurt their brand, and they weren't focusing their content on the user. And while before COVID, it was already important to focus on the user, but people didn't notice it as much, and it didn't seem so tone deaf. It wasn't so obvious. Yeah. And now it's very obvious. And I think that the way that you're approaching customers, they're looking for brands that they can trust. They're looking for that trust. They're looking for, now everybody's budget is smaller too. So that's an even bigger thing, because they say, well, I'm not going to just spend it on any company. I want one that I can trust. I want one that's going to help me, that cares about me. I'm not going to give my money to anybody, because these guys are just looking for my money. They don't actually want to help me. So obviously content isn't the only way to do that. I mean, obviously your product also has to serve them. Your product has to live up to the hype. You can't be like, this is my customer service product, we have the greatest customer service, and then they're rude to somebody on the phone, or you make them wait 2 hours. It doesn't matter how good your content marketing is at that point. Everything has to be aligned. Your story has to make sense.
Ecosystem, right? It's an ecosystem thing. I mean, and you were saying something about sales. I mean, you said, I don't know if sales improved or not, but the click rate, open rate was higher. Of course it was, because many people were at home, having more time in their hands. And let me tell you something. I've been doing sales for the last 25 years. I had team on sales, more than 500 people on sales under my management. Sales is the end of an ecosystem.
It's not the end.
It's at the end.
It's not the end, because then there's also the customer's experience.
Sorry, it's a circle thing.
Yeah.
It's not from one top to the other, but the sales is a result of a perfect ecosystem. Yeah. Because if you don't do content, if you don't do marketing automation, if you don't do nurturing, the sales, it doesn't happen. Sales is about relationships. If you don't create relationships, no one would buy you today. And because the consumer is smarter, because the consumer is, he has a lot of information where he can go and find, say, if what you say it's correct, it's not correct. So sales improve, whatever, all the background that you've been telling, you've been saying in a great way, it will happen. I mean, it doesn't happen without it, just by publishing a whatever it is in an advertising on the Facebook. You receive a leads, they're going to buy you. I mean, I never agreed that the thing is sales need to change, because people, if you are getting interesting, the first thing they do, call you and try to sell the product. No, build the relationship first. Don't sell it to just, okay, you contact me, I want to sell you my product. Build relationships, and of course, to build the relationships, you also need all that background, content, SEO, blog. Everything it's a togetherness.
It all works together, and that's why a lot of people, they'll see your product, they're like, that might be interesting, but then they'll go look at your website and they'll see, okay, what kind of content do they have on there? Who are these people? The About Us page, for example, is really important to Google. If you don't have an About Us page, it's hard for Google to consider you as an authority, and that's because people want to know
about us, explaining who you are.
Yeah, about who you are, who is creating this, because Google has they basically, one of the factors in their ranking is authority of whoever's creating this content. So if you're saying, okay, I'm the expert in sales automation, and then your website is about shoes, then it's like,
it doesn't really fit, right?
Yeah, it doesn't really fit. So this is something where it's about us. Who are we? They want to know who it is that they're dealing with. It's like the second most visited page out of the static. So, there's the home, and then there's About Us, and then there's the blog. Blog obviously is going to be the one that gets the most traffic because it has the longer tail keywords. But About Us is a really important page. People want to know who they're dealing with.
Having a startup, I did all the mistakes possible, imaginable you can do when you open a startup. Well, I had different startups, and probably content has been one of my biggest mistakes. I really understood how important was the content, and that's why you are in this interview, because to me, really, this is, hey guys, you know what? I did that mistake, and it's a mistake that really didn't cost me money, but what it cost me is to grow faster.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know I didn't have the money, whatever. I mean, as a startup, you have a bunch of problems. But when I really understood how important the content is, it's when I went to nurture my leads. What am I sending to them?
You don't have anything to send to them. That's so, like, they're like, oh, can you send me a case study or an explanation, or what does this mean? And then
even a complete workflow of information depending on where you're clicking, and that when I really understood, oh my God, I need a content writer. I needed a strategy, behind the communication, and that's when it came so clear to my eyes. And what I say today when a startup comes in, two things. Hey, you know what? Validate your product before even thinking you want to go abroad. And second, get a good content, strategy. It's like when you get companies also have two way of the economic. You have the economic strategy, but then you have a financial strategy, which are so different. Economy is the money you need today, or the money you need in these months to carry on. But financial, it's okay in 1 year or in 2 years. How the hell I have to set my strategy? And the content to me was, oh my God. So I understood the importance of the content. I'm sorry for you if I didn't do it at the beginning, but that's the reason of these interviews are, hey guys, that's the mistake you should not be making. And technically, you really explain it very, very well, honestly.
Oh, thank you.
No, it's great. It's good because then see the people starting, these soy talks say that we are very funny. Thank you very much. I hope apart from funny, we are also professional. And if we could have brought you something in this interview, would be fantastic. So for anyone who would contact, of course, Maeva, and I suggest 100% flycatmarketing.com, and you will be very funny because she is not only a good professional, but a great person. And this is a compliment. Come on.
Thank you.
It's when you work, you should work with professional, but also with a person, with the people.
Yeah, with somebody that can share the values with you. I think that's really important.
A good professional comes from a good person, I believe, because you should have ethic. You should, be honest with your clients. And I think that is the most valuable thing you can have based for a professional is the fact that you have ethic. And doing this only for the money, because sometimes people, they'll, the money. Well, that's how the company stays up.
Yeah, but that hurts the value. I mean, if you're doing things only for money, you'll never be passionate about it. And when you find a startup founder, a maker, an entrepreneur who's so passionate about what they're doing, you'll never be able to match it. And they can feel that in what you're doing. If you're not matching, if you're not meeting them at the same level of passion about what you're giving to them and how you're helping them grow their business, it's not going to work.
No, absolutely right. I mean, they can both work. Probably people getting about just money, they will get there at some stage, or they get there before. But probably is not sustainable.
Yeah.
There is no quantity, there is no quality, but more than quality, the quantity. There's no quality, there is not a bridge, there is not a process done. I read once, more than read, I read this sentence once, and then I made agendas on it.
There's no elevator to success, you have to take the stairs. I can resonate with that. I live on the cuarto piso, it's actually the 7th floor, and there's no elevator.
Yeah, but this is, when I found this this is an agenda, we created, so it's an agenda, of course. I gave to all the people starting in our company. I said, okay, bear this in mind, because this is exactly what we need in this company. It's not easy to get there.
No.
We need to get there, working hard and doing
one step at a time.
Step by step. Because if you do something that's wrong, you're building, on something not stable. And that's, at the end of the day, it's going to pay back. At some stage, it's going to pay back. And I know, because I did so many mistakes that I can write a book.
Well, mistakes are good. Every mistake is an opportunity for a lesson learned, I like to say.
Yeah, but when you do so many, and but it's true. When you do mistakes, it's because you want to grow. Otherwise, you never make mistakes.
Yeah.
Maeva, you probably not believe it, but we have been on for an hour.
I know. I can see. I also have the time, and that went by so fast.
That's fantastic.
I feel like we could have talked for hours about it.
No, but you opened me a lot of things. I had to go learn about content because I love it. But basically, what I do also to learn more things than what I do and what I know. And it's been so interesting, everything you said about this, and I really want people to contact you. Honestly, even my company should contact you at some stage.
Well, you know where to find me.
I know. I have your phone, I have your social. We have to, basically, last time we saw physically was 3 months ago.
It was like in February or something.
Yeah, it was in the conference or something.
Yeah.
So soon we were going to meet again.
Yeah, we can get a coffee.
Yeah. No. That's we have to do that. Coffee or beer. Let's make it Spanish way. Let's make it a Spanish way.
I like it. I like it.
Thank you very much to be on this live. To me, has been fantastic. I could not be more honored by you. You have been the first woman guest, so you will be always on my heart on this series. And of course, the first English. So you have two records. Very difficult.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It's been such a pleasure and an honor to be on this show and to talk to you for the last hour. I had a lot of fun.
Wow. So thank you very much for everybody around that being here. Thanks for the questions. Thanks for following us. We will be again on live next Tuesday. I believe it's going to be Spanish. So for all the Spanish people, probably will be easier in Spanish than in English. But okay, follow us. And anything you want from Maeva, the web is there, or you can contact me directly. So you can find Maeva Cifuentes on LinkedIn. And then, of course, if you want to find her, if you don't find her, find me, and I will go through, we'll pop it through all your messages. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thank you. You too.
To the next one.
Bye, Max. Bye.